Yesterday, Chris Richards got an honor, was named the U.S. Men's National Team Player of the Year. Is he the most talented player on the pitch? No, but did he make probably arguably the biggest impact on this team from a leadership perspective during this year when we desperately needed someone to step up, especially going into that Gold Cup? I think Chris Richards absolutely did, and especially after listening to the way he reacted after Australia and how chippy those guys were getting with Christian Pulisic, and now they're in our group in the World Cup. Right, so they did all that chippy stuff and all that BS trying to take out Pulisic and whatnot. And Chris Richards getting pissed off, and he says we need this group to start rallying around each other. And if teams want to get after it, we can get after it. Well, now they're going to face the Aussies in the World Cup. So what do you have in store for that team? Again, not the most talented player on the team, but if there's one player I feel like I could point to and be like, he's the emotional leader, I feel like Chris Richards has been exactly that for the U.S. men's national team. But before we get into all that, we got to talk a little bit about Pat Mack. Actually, we can talk about Chris Richards for a second. First of all, let me get your impressions on what you thought Richards did this year, because that's just the way that I saw it. And again, our biggest question early on in the podcast is like, who's going to lead this team from an emotional perspective? Because you're not going to get that out of someone like Christian Pulisic. It's just not his personality. And I understand it. And Zlatan tried to get it out of him. Everybody's tried to get it out of him and get him to realize, hey, you're Captain America. You have to be an emotional leader. You have to lead from the front, but that's just not the kind of person he is. But I thought Chris Richards, in terms of getting their swagger back, he did that. He did that a lot this year for the U.S. men's national team.
By the way, that kid got shortly kicked out of De La Salle High School shortly after that video. Just putting it out there.
Oh boy! All right. Well, it's a viral clip.
It is viral
clip. But anyways,
I just find it funny when I've gone to a couple De La Salle games. They play it, and that kid got kicked out of school shortly after that video. And I'm like, well, I guess it's still viral for the team, but he got kicked out.
De La Salle had their own issues. Yeah, they had their own problems.
Yeah, they did. Anyway,
yep.
I would say for Chris Richards, he's an emotional leader. He leads from the forefront. I think he's got a good partner in crime over at Crystal Palace, Mark Gay. He kind of showed him how to be a good leader, regardless, especially that center back role. But we also look at men's national team player of the year. Who was there in the Gold Cup? Not Pulisic, not McKennie, not Adams, not any of those guys. Chris Richards was there, regardless of him playing in overseas and for Crystal Palace and just winning the FA Cup. He could have absolutely just said, all right, I'm going to put my feet up for the summer. I did my job in the FA Cup. No one else is showing up. No, but Chris Richards showed up. He actually scored a goal in the Gold Cup final, a game that we should forget a little bit because it was a horrible game from the USA standpoint.
Good start. Not the rest of the game.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is I think he cares a lot. I think Chris Richards cares a ton about the men's national team compared to some. And another point, which I totally forgot what I was going to say, which was this one. There's no drama with Chris Richards. He just shows up, does his job.
Nope.
Says what he wants and what he needs to motivate the team. But that's it. We don't see Pulisic bitching. We don't see Tim Weah bitching. We don't see Weston McKennie bitching. Or we see those guys bitching, I should say. We don't see Chris Richards bitching about any of that stuff. We see Pulisic, we see McKennie, we see Weah do it all the time, especially this summer. And I think there's a reason why the media doesn't even go after Chris Richards is because he just does his job. And we're talking about U.S. men's national team player of the year. And I think he is a good example of it. And even when he helps with youth camps, he does a really good job. And I don't think Chris Richards wants to be in the spotlight per se. And I don't think he really cares for it. I think he just wants to go up there, do his job, win as many trophies as he can with Crystal Palace, and win as many trophies as he can with the men's national team. So it makes total sense. And for the people that are out there that are saying, well, why didn't Pulisic win it? Well, there's a sole reason why Pulisic didn't win it. It's because Chris Richards showed up. He didn't have a sidebar and some drama every single time. Yeah. Chris Richards went out there, did his job, scored a goal in the Gold Cup final. Yeah, we didn't win. Yeah, we didn't have our full squad out there. But you know who showed up? Chris Richards showed up. Yep. He showed up when he didn't have to. He just had probably the best season in Crystal Palace history. He won an FA Cup. He won a trophy. And Pulisic didn't do shit. He didn't do anything all summer except bitch. So, Chris Richards is well-deserving of this.
Yep. And you know what's a dream to me if I'm Mauricio Pochettino? And it's two-sided. And you just mentioned it, right? Productivity and lack of drama. from a productivity perspective, and it's not just the U.S. men's national team. Look at what he's done at Crystal Palace. I mean, leading them to the success that they've had, really the first time that they've done so at the level that they've done so this year. Amazing. Just amazing in his position and one of the best in his position in that league. And so, you can argue that from a productivity perspective, he's been unbelievable. And you really have to look at the club resume too, because again, if you look at the U.S. men's national team resume, I mean, I think everybody is they were all down in the doldrums, and we can only read so far into international friendlies. They haven't really played a meaningful game since that game against Mexico. Again, it can sit like that the implications are there because they're already hosting the World Cup, right? So it was never really an intention of, hey, we're trying to beat the tar out of this team or that team. It was more like, hey, Poach is trying to figure out, who we have. But when you look at his club productivity, I think number one, but number two, and I think the bigger thing, like you're saying, like I love my guys that just show up and do their work. I mean, drawing a football example, Kurt Signetti talked about that. I just want guys who show up and do their work. I don't care how it looks. I don't care when you do it. I don't care how long it takes you to do it. You show up, you do it, and you do it to its completion, and then you leave. And Chris Richards has embodied all of that for the U.S. men's national team this year. So I agree. No, I think he's 100% deserving of this. And again, if we're asking this question, if we're still asking this question of who's going to lead this team from the front, like who's going to be the emotional leader on the squad, I think we just anointed Chris Richards exactly that. And I think that's what this award is showing. Got 50% of the vote. I forget who he was running up against. There were two other. I believe Alex Freeland was in there, and I forget who the other nominee for U.S. men's national team player of the year was. But I believe Richards got 48.9% of the vote or something along those lines. But, I mean, damn near half of the people that were voting
Tillman
on
and
this.
Alex Freeman were the other two.
Freeman, not Freeland. Whoops, getting my names wrong over here. But Freeman and Malik Tillman. Malik Tillman would have been a good choice too. I really like what he did between him and Chris Richards combined. But let's talk a little bit about
conversation. I wonder why.
Who's not in the Pulisic?
Yeah, Pulisic wasn't even in the convo.
Oh yeah.
Why.
Yeah, I mean, not him or McKinney or any of those guys.
I wonder why.
Yeah, understandably so. Understandably so.